Hello, this is Danny Raymond, the voice behind Ray's Guide. This video is sponsored by Southern New Hampshire University and their online bachelor program in computer game development. More on that later. Recently, Chris Roberts and Richard Trier, in a letter from the chairman, described how they were working on a roadmap of the features that will and won't be included in Star Citizen 1.0 commercial release. Now, one of the features that everybody is likely presuming to be included in the won't be included is the long-standing stretch goal of having 100 star systems, which right now exists only that in lore and the web-based star map have 100 systems. But apparently the only person taking that 100-star system promise seriously was Todd Howard, who apparently felt that he needed to have 100-star systems in Starfield, which immediately had people worried that it would be, as they termed it, a mile wide and an inch deep. So then Starfield came out with it, and it was indeed judged to be a mile wide and an inch deep. So right now, pretty much everybody who actually plays the game wants more star systems, but not 100. So the question that is, how many to start? I'm presuming that the planetary team hasn't simply been sitting idle while server meshing was being worked on and has a fair supply of assets on the shelf. So obviously we start small and then grow, which is also the story of our sponsor, Southern New Hampshire University. What eventually would become SNHU started as 2 rooms above a storefront in Manchester, New Hampshire, as the New Hampshire Accounting and Secretarial School in 1932. Imagine the optimism to start a career school at the peak of the Great Depression. Imagine the optimism to enroll in one. They started with fewer than 10 daytime students and 35 nighttime students, which already showed a focus on being able to make education available to those who already had career obligations that would make traditional educational routes impossible, which, leaving aside all the technology stuff, is really what online degrees are about today. During World War II, they changed focus to training military clerical skills and later in vocational programs for disabled veterans. Even today, current and former members of the armed services make up 40% of the students at SNHU Online. In the 1960s, they became a degree-granting nonprofit college under the name New Hampshire College. And in 1971, they outgrew the ability to find space to rent inside of Manchester and moved to their current 300-acre campus on the outskirts of town, which now has over 40 buildings on it. Between online and in-person students, SNHU now has over 180,000 students in over 250 programs. If that sounds interesting, visit snhu.edu/raisguide and fill out the form to talk to a real person to learn more about this remarkable institution. That's snhu.edu/raisguide. So returning, how do you know where to start? Well, at 1.0, there will presumably be a lot of new players. Where will they start? They will start with this drop-down list to pick their home system. And the drop-down list will be their very first impression of the scope of the verse. And the very first impressions are so important. So how many items should be in that very first choice that a new player will have to make about their home star system? The answer is actually well understood by psychologists and game designers. The answer is 3.
Then shalt thou count to 3. No more, no less.
A choice of 1 seems pointless, and a choice of 2 seems limited.
Neither count thou 2, excepting that thou then proceed to 3.
And choices of 4 or more begin to seem overwhelming
4 shalt thou not count.
to someone without a lot of experience to go on.
5 is right out.
Now, an early stretch goal included backers having an extra choice of starting location, and that's fine because for early backers, this won't be their first exposure to the verse. But for those entering the verse for the very first time, what are the 3 choices that they should have?
3 shall be the number thou shalt count, and the number of the counting shall be 3.
And let me say right up front that Pyro, or any system like it, should not be on the list. Taking a completely inexperienced player in an Aurora and putting them in Pyro is almost certainly going to be a disaster, and anybody insisting that new players be able to start in Pyro is likely just being a predator looking for easy victims. So, Stanton, of course, is in the list of 3, but what should be the other 2? One clear choice is Terra, as is the political center of the UEE, and in my opinion, the 3rd slot should be Ellis. It's an interesting system with a wide variety of planets and some very beautiful ones. It is the center of the Murray Cup racing, so that is a unique factor. Its habitable planets are full of nature and resorts and casinos and other entertainment ventures. So it rounds out a trio of a business nexus, a political nexus, and a popular entertainment and leisure nexus. So in terms of the USA, it would be like having New York, Washington, D.C., and Los Angeles as the three starting choices. So with those in place, it becomes a game of connect the dots. And not just that, but connect them in interesting ways. Stanton, of course, is directly connected to Terra, and Terra connects to both Pyro and Stanton, so that's our first triangle route. The next obvious choice is the Magnus system. Magnus connects to both Terra and Stanton and connects to Ellis. So just with Magnus, we have another triangle route and have all of our starter systems connected to each other. Magnus is also an interesting system. It reminds me in some ways of Pyro, a system that has seen better days, but rather than from a natural catastrophic event, a political catastrophic event, the UEE pulling out its major shipyards from it, and thus it becoming the headquarters of Drake Interplanetary. But there are other systems that CIG have hinted that they are in development work on. Nix is the home of Levski, which CIG did have temporarily located in Stanton, and CIG has said they've done work on having Levski reworked to current standards. Nix connects to Pyro, and so that fits with a starting mesh of planets. We also know that Odin is the setting of Squadron 42, so substantial work must have already been done on it. Odin connects to Nix. So this would mean 3 starting mostly safe systems, Stanton, Terra, and Ellis, and 3 more challenging systems for advanced players, Pyro, Magnus, and Odin, with players who have pledged during development to have the choices of all 6, but everyone else only having the genuine starter systems. Those 6 I would regard as the absolute minimum for a 1.0 release, with more following on a regular basis, as in more than 1 per year. What would be some of my favorite early ones? Looking at those with multiple connections of the first 6, I would look at the Hadrian as the first interspecies trade hub, Tyrannus with its particularly dense asteroid belts, and Castra as a militarized trade hub. Frankly, there are a lot of good systems in lore to choose from, but equally important is not to choose ones that gets the explorable verse strung out in a single line. That's boring. Always look to be creating explorable loops. Finally, an update on our Grow the Channel ship giveaway. We continue to make progress towards awarding some lucky player the Zippy Zazzy Zaftig Zephyr, the Zeus 2 cargo, as well as towards the marvelous multi-user, multi-role mining meta, the Arasta. 1 entry per video. Just be a member for automatic entry or subscribe and comment with the secret word. And the secret word for this video is the 3rd starter system that I suggested. Fly safe, keep it real, and I'll see you in the verse. This is Daniel Raymond with Ray's Guide.
Then lobbest thou thy holy hand grenade of Antioch towards thy foe, who being naught in my sight shall snuff it.